Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode. It is Wednesday, January 4th, and this is the Investing Bros. We got a lot to talk about today. We got some big stuff coming out with Logan Paul, and some of you might be wondering, Tim, why the heck are you talking about Logan Paul? Well, guess what? He's talking about crypto. He's bringing up a potential lawsuit of CoffeeZilla. A lot of interesting details there. We're going to be diving into that a little bit more. But as you saw in the description and the title, Litecoin is moving right now, and there's a really interesting opinion coming from a CEO about the future of Litecoin. We're going to be looking at its chart and showing why it's actually one of the top moving cryptos right now, if not the top moving crypto. And we're also going to be jumping into some other charts as well, because in case you just woke up, which probably a lot of you did, we had a good day yesterday to end with crypto. We got a lot of breakouts happening even this morning. It is a great day to be alive, a great day to be investing in crypto. Make sure you go ahead and smash that like button right now. If you are new here, subscribe for more content just like this. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single thing. I am joined by my favorite Air. It is T-shirt. I don't know why I said air. My favorite friend, my favorite partner, my favorite co-host, my favorite. What else are you? My favorite.
Good time, pal.
Good time, pal. T-Shroom. T-Shroom, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing really, really well. And what I've got to say about that is right on my screen here, and it comes from Dolly Parton today. The way I see it, if you want the rainbow, you got to put up with the rain. Yeah. Have you ever heard more true words than that, Tim?
I've heard a few words truer than that. Like sometimes, as another quote of the day that we had a couple days ago, it's not always rainbows and organisms.
Right.
So you got to remember that one too.
That is true. So that would be better than this. But Dolly Parton, quick note on her. Amanda and I are really big fans of Miley Cyrus, and Dolly Parton has been doing some collabs with Miley Cyrus recently. So that's been really, really fun to see.
Isn't Dolly Parton like her godmother or something?
That's correct, Tim. She talks about that in the episode with Joe Rogan.
Listen, Tim knows things. I just want everyone to know right now. Sometimes Tim knows things. Not all times. Sometimes Tim knows things. Any other headlines, T-shirt, we're going to be talking about today? Before we jump in and engage with chat here a little bit this morning, any fun things you want to just throw in there on top of Dolly Parton facts and details?
When it comes down to crypto, it really all pretty much comes down to Dolly.
It's all about Dolly Parton. Okay.
No, so you mentioned it in the intro. Logan Paul reacts to CoffeeZilla's scam accusations threatening legal action. Yeah. He said, "You better hire a good lawyer. You're going to need it." And then the White House is kind of walking back and having to defend themselves because they had a meeting with SBF as recently as September 9th of last year, obviously. Yeah. And Solana is surging 16% as Dogecoin themed SHIB rival Bonk takes off. Maybe you've heard of it. We're going to get into it a little bit today. And then also U.S. regulators warn banks that crypto is not safe and sound. So the steady march of regulation coming on down the road. And then also got some stuff out of Israel. Israeli security regulators move to establish crypto legal framework. So regulation all over the world. And then also we'll get some stuff from the trad markets, get some fresh numbers from the mortgage rates out there. And also we will definitely be diving into Litecoin. But that, other than Dolly Parton, those are some things that also you may want to consider today.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good. It's going to be a great show today. And listen, if you guys are new here, any of you are new, thank you for sticking with us. Just in case you're wondering, and maybe some of you are newer, this is like not your first show, but maybe it's your second, third, fourth. What are we trying to accomplish here? We are the Investing Bros. Every single day, we're going to come to you with news, with TA. We're going to be talking about crypto. We're going to be talking about the stock market. We're going to be talking about things that will affect your investments. But we're also trying to build a very fun and engaging community that is also non-toxic. We want to uplift and grow. So we like to have fun. We like to joke around. Love seeing you guys engage with chat whenever we do that. So if that's something you love, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. But we're going to go and engage with chat here for just a little bit. Let's see who is here. We had a new, usually, Sack Nasty 86. He had a pretty good streak going to being the first person. I don't even know if I see his name in here yet, but we have a new first commenter of the day. It is Tyler Main. He said, "Dang, T-Shroom, how'd you get here so early? Good morning, Investing Bros." Good morning to you, Tyler Main. Love seeing your name in chat every day. Brian Hoskins is back. He says, here, schedules changed 3 days in a row. I'm glad I can watch. Love having you here, Brian. I'm not going to be able to read everyone's comments, but I wanted to read the first couple here. Gia S. said, good morning. Mr. J is here, said morning. CD Unicorn is here. Brad Geidel representing Wisconsin in the house. Let me know, is anyone else from Wisconsin other than Brad Geidel? Love our, what is that? That's just north, mid-north, mid-north, because it's not Midwest.
The Midwest? I think they consider.
Do they consider themselves Midwest?
I think so, yeah.
Brad, are you guys Midwest? I don't know. Let's see here. Josh Denham is in chat. Brian D is here. Let's see. Who else? Curtis Rorick. Not Rorick, but Rorick. Grand Roofing Incorporated is in the chat. Mr. J. Who else? Yair Navarro. V Slim. CBD Suddy. Alejandro Lepe. You know, I don't know. Alejandro. I think that's the first time I've seen your name here. Welcome. I don't know if you're new here or if you just join in later, but welcome to the beginning of the show. Servando Estrada is here. Buenos dias, amigos. Loving the content. Love it. Got to get our Spanish.
Servando is almost the new Grand Roofing Incorporated because I just love to say that name.
It is a fun name to say. I will say I wish that I had grown up speaking a little more Spanish. I took Spanish a couple years in high school, forgot all of it. But I agree. When people say that words in Spanish are more beautiful than English, I 100% agree.
Yeah.
English is actually, when you think about it, a really boring sounding language.
Okay. I'm not gonna wholeheartedly agree, but what I will say is Florida is actually a Spanish word for flower.
I know.
Florida.
Anyway, let's keep going on here. Mitch Shaw is here, a mellow fellow. Eric Wallen, Seek and Hunt, Crypto JMP, Mr. Quinto 93. Is it Quinto or Quinto? I'm going to say Quinto.
Well,
but I've been wrong before.
The hotel is La Quinta, so it's totally different.
It's true.
But I did want to point out Al Bundles.
Al Bundles.
Yeah, Al Bundles. He said top of the morning, which are you calling the top today?
Wow, that's a stretch. Wow. Wow. Trevor is here as well. Grand PZ. And let's see. I saw one more other name. Philly Skills 1428.
Philly Skills.
What a name. Philly Skills 1428. I would love to know the history of that name. Well, T-Shroom, if we have nothing else, are we good to go ahead and jump on to the charts?
Tim, we're good to go ahead and jump onto the charts.
All right, let's do it. There's a lot. Like I said in the intro, in case you guys are just joining us, welcome. Go ahead and smash that like button. 40 people here. We had a lot of breakouts last night, a lot of resistance levels. And I kind of threw this on here last second. Don't put too much into this. But technically speaking, it had 2 touches. So, and again, nothing crazy here. But Bitcoin had a touchback here in November and then another one here in December that right now we're kind of working towards breaking through again. I threw it up there just because I was interested to see if we had broken through any connecting dots. That's why I have it with the dotted line right there. What's more intriguing, though, I'm going to go ahead and take that down, though. We'll see if that plays significance. I'll bring it back up in the future if we need to. We're sitting on Bitcoin in that trading, that sideways channel, and Bitcoin kissed almost perfectly. Let's go to the 4-hourly chart just so we see this a little more. Kissed perfectly that resistance zone right at 16,912, and we're coming back down a little bit. Doesn't mean we have to keep falling because there is something really interesting happening here when we pull up the oscillators. Just wanted to update you guys that, again, this zone that Bitcoin has been trading in now, we have 2 touches of the support level, but several resistance level touches. We're sitting at a place of resistance. We could continue to break through, and I'm going to show you some other coins we've been breaking through with other cryptocurrencies, but Bitcoin, the big dog, it was up. Wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world if you guys had taken some profit there, even if we rally a little bit higher. Everyone knows, or not everyone knows, you should know the more and more you've traded, anytime you can take profit, it's good. Too many times I've seen people get to a level where they want to take profit like this and say, but I think we can go a little higher, let me hold off, and then they end up missing out on a take profit opportunity and end up falling back down either to their buy-in spot or even worse, go into their stop loss. So any trade that ends in the green is considered a win in my book. There are reasons to suspect, though, potentially that Bitcoin could continue to climb to the upside. Let's start on the daily chart here, and let's look at the RSI. Now, I'll say this. I think there's room to the upside still. It is interesting that we're currently sitting right at the 50 on the RSI on the daily chart. Traditionally, Traditionally, the 50 can sometimes be seen as a place of temporary resistance, but it would be interesting to see as we're at this level of resistance on the chart and that level of resistance on the RSI. Is this a time where we can actually break through it, maybe get back above the 50? We haven't been above the 50 since all the way back here in mid-December, so it would be nice to see us get back above the daily RSI. Let's go down to the 4-hourly chart. You guys can see also, let me point out, the Lux Algo Oscillator it's low, which is a very good thing, but it's not necessarily showing oversold or overbought. So this is kind of in a middle ground territory. Being at the top of a trading channel and having a low oscillator, that in my book is a bullish sign. Doesn't mean it has to go up, but I like that I'm seeing there that even if we reject one more time and come down, that we're setting up what we need to be able to break through. Now, when we go down to the 4-hourly chart, you guys are seeing now the Lux Algo Oscillator has turned, it's high and it's green. We don't really necessarily have a red cloud saying overbought at the moment, but watch as we start to continue to climb. If we continue to hit the head of the resistance or even break up above it, we might see that red cloud come in. But on the RSI, technically we came in like right below the 70, but on these lower time frames, it's very, very normal to break through and go above that 70. So I'm looking at this saying we do not have bearish RSI divergence at this point on the 4-hourly chart. You could make a stretch and try to go all the way back here, but these points are actually going to mingle more like with these points and where we had bearish RSI divergence back here. When you're looking at divergence traditionally, you know, there are times to have exceptions always, but something that's been utilized for previous bearish or bullish divergence, it doesn't have as much weight when you're looking in the future. So you're going to see some analysts go back to this point right here and carry this over and say, oh, Tim, is that bearish RSI divergence because our price action, we closed a little bit lower, whereas the RSI went up. But again, what I'm going to go ahead and challenge that thinking with, in case any of you were in that boat, is look at this flat top we have here with the ascending level of RSI. That right there was bearish RSI divergence, which brought us back down in the trading channel. Not majorly, just so you guys know, this trading channel consists of a whopping, let me go ahead and show you guys the percentage. From bottom to top is only about 3.5%. Not a very big, not a very long channel. So coming back down, that was very minor bearish RSI divergence, and it was very minor come down, touch that support level one more time. But that's the reason why I'm looking at this and saying there's no bearish RSI divergence, because to me, this has played out. These have played out. I'm more looking at these points, and they are matching. They're not divergences. They're continuing the same way. So what could happen, and the fact this one's not very high, I'm looking at that and saying we have a lot that could happen. What possibly, though, is the RSI ends up climbing it one more time, coming above the 70, drops back down, maybe even comes as low as the 50, with a repeat back up, setting a lower peak on the RSI. But in that same timeline, what the Bitcoin price actually does is it breaks up, comes back up to these levels, sets a little higher high, comes down, and then bounces for an even higher high before coming down. And then there, that would give us a bearish RSI divergence for a little bit of a regrouping. Those price, don't pay attention to the exact price levels. Like, I'm not putting any significance into 17,100, which is what it looks like. I'm saying I'm more talking about rough price action and what it could look like. So keep your eyes on the charts for that to appear. Let's look at a couple other things on Bitcoin, though. Let's pull up our Lux Algo and see some key levels, other reasons to believe that potentially we might have, at least for a moment, peaked and not need to correct. If you're looking at the Lux Algo, we just had the sell signal come in on contrarian signal. We kissed the 4-hourly reversal zone, and we're sitting right in a level of liquidity according to the action concepts. I'm looking, for those of you who might don't know, I've said it a couple times here, but this is a great indicator called Lux Algo. If you do not have it, you absolutely want it. It's another amazing tool to add to your trading and investing toolbox, and you can get it with a link in the description down below. That's just one of the ways you guys can support our channel. But you can see we've used these zones. These zones will give us some peaks and some support lines. Again, we have the liquidity zone down here. We ended up buying in, started this whole rally, came back down to another level that was former resistance back here, turned support. So that's another one. And this resistance we had back here in late December, the day after Christmas, it's coming back into play here. And so we have not necessarily used all that up. What's going to happen is when we're able to use up all this volume, we'll be able to finally break through if the bulls want to keep pushing. So that's what I'm seeing right now on Bitcoin. Let me know, T-Shroom, if you see anything different. But right now, it is a little bit of people hate to hear this, but it's what we have to say. Especially not being financial advisors. It could go up, could go down. There's reasons to believe that up could be coming, but you want to make sure you're hedging yourself and protecting yourself. Wait for right now. I would absolutely advise people, wait for just a little bit. Wait for potentially a correction. If you like a good buying point, if you're looking at some things, then maybe enter in on a Bitcoin trade a little bit later. And pay attention to news. We got a lot of things coming out in the next couple of weeks that will impact the price very, very much so. Last thing I want to see on Bitcoin, and then we're going to move on to Ethereum. I'm going to briefly look at Cardano, and then we're going to be talking about Litecoin because it is one that I'm absolutely loving. We're also sitting on a more macro timeline. Let me take the oscillators down for a second. We're sitting in a falling wedge pattern on Bitcoin. We're sitting almost dab smack in the middle of it, though. So we're not necessarily getting anywhere close to a resistance level or support level on this formation. So that's one that I'm interested in. If we do break bullish, and you guys can see what I'm watching for is a potential breakout, maybe up, and then start making our way towards that resistance level again at 17,600, making our way over towards that red line before we actually come back down. We'll keep our eyes on that chart. Let's move over to Ethereum, where there was a very good breakout this morning, and that breakout was on a rising triangle pattern. We're going to see a little bit better when we go down to the 4-hourly chart, but we're sitting currently in its own zone that Ethereum's had for several months now. Resistance, support, resistance, support. Now it is acting as resistance, but could we get a little bit of a push? Again, if we're seeing that in Bitcoin happen, could we get enough of a push for Ethereum not only to have broken through this flat level of resistance, but maybe also break this and turn it back into support for the long term? We talked about this the other day, but this yellow line was a long-term macro term. We got to go up to the weekly chart to see it. Resistance level that went all the way back to the all-time high that Ethereum had back here in November of 2021. We just broke through that, so that is a major bullish move for Ethereum. Hopefully, we can continue to hold that and stay above it. That doesn't mean we don't go lower. Of course, that yellow line continues to decline, so the price could keel over and come down and touch it down here. But it is good for now to know Ethereum is breaking very long-term resistance levels. Let's look at what is happening on the oscillators for Ethereum. I don't know if they're at the exact same as Bitcoin, but I believe they are similar. So unlike Bitcoin, where it's hesitating right now at the 50 and we're questioning on the daily chart, will we end up rejecting? Ethereum ended up breaking through the daily, through the daily 50 RSI. Its Luxago oscillator is at the bottom but turning green. No clouds necessarily. Let's see if the 4-hourly chart says something similar. Okay, so here we are a little bit different as well. So remember I told you on Bitcoin, 4-hourly chart, we're still below that 70. Here in Ethereum, we actually are high. Now, here's the part about it, kind of similar to what I was just saying before. We do not have our bearish RSI divergence. We are above the 70, and this is the time you're starting to look for setups where, again, you come down, you come back down to this area, and you set a okay, actually, we delete that. You might even set a higher high on the RSI, really, in reality, and then come back down and set a lower high. And in that same timeline, again, the price is doing something where it comes back down, hits this former support level, comes up, comes back down, and then sets a higher high while we're setting lower highs in the RSI. Watch for price action to happen like that. Again, don't pay attention to this price action. That's not what I'm saying. I'm trying to draw just price action in general. The interesting thing about Ethereum, and this is where I was actually making note because I talked about this yesterday on the show. This candle is just here a couple of hours ago. I think late yesterday afternoon, if I'm right. Yes, so this is late last night that this candle developed like this. I talked with you guys about a potential trade setup on Ethereum where I said you could go ahead and enter and hedge your bets and risk entering down here. It ended up being a good call. The second one, though, and I want to make sure people are aware of this, do not wake up this morning and FOMO. And any time in reality, when you see a rising, an ascending triangle, higher lows, flat tops, when you see an ascending triangle, you can buy in at support levels like we saw right here. But do not FOMO in just because we broke above and say, oh no, I'm freaking out. I missed my chance. Let me just go ahead and buy in right here. What you're going to want to do, and this is for all of them, and I'm not saying necessarily do this for Ethereum. You can do this, but wait for a retest of support. A lot of times when you have this triangle play out like this, we end up breaking through it, coming back down and retesting that support level, and then we break up to our prediction zone. I'm going to show you that in just a second. So if I was you guys, I would not be purchasing right now. I'm going ahead and waiting for a retest of this support turn from resistance. If we never get back to it, I'm just going to sit this trade out. And a lot of people, sometimes the mistakes they make early is they don't wait for things, and then when they miss a trade opportunity or they freak out, they're like, oh, I should have gotten in, so next time I'm going to FOMO in. No, learn to make wise moves, and sometimes wise moves mean I missed the boat and I'm going to wait. Guess what? Whales, when they miss the boat, they just wait for it to come back. Retail investors often get left out. There's going to be a lot of whales who want to regroup and buy down here. I'm probably 72% certain, T-Shroom. I'm 72% certain we're going to be retesting this support level, retesting this resistance level before rising up to this prediction I'm about to talk about. But that prediction, if we're expecting, where could Ethereum get to based off of this breakout? If we're just looking at this rising triangle, go down to the bottom of it where it kind of started out here, and let's stay conservative. I'm not going to go all the way to the top of this zone. I'm just going to come to the bottom of it, and I'm going to break it out over here. Let's stay conservative here. We could see a price action go all the way up towards 1,300. Let's go a little more aggressive. Let's go to the top of it. It's going to be a little higher here, not a whole lot more. A more aggressive would put us more closer towards 1313. It's really not that much more impressive. If I was trading this, again, what I'm going to be doing is waiting for a retest of support, and then I'm going to put my my take profit at 1300 even though technically this goes up to 1304. I do not do exact bottoms and exact tops. I do good buy-ins and good sell spots. So that's what I'm looking at here on Ethereum. I spent a little bit of time there, but wanted to update you guys on what's happening there. Ethereum is very attractive. There's a lot of things coming out fundamentally, updates to the their tokenomics that I think is going to bring in a lot of institutional adoption over the next couple of months. So even if you're not just trading this, if you're just looking for good opportunities to be investing, keep looking at that DCA strategy. If you like certain spots, watch this spot down here as support as a good level to DCA it a little bit more into. Let's quickly take a look at ADA before we move over into Litecoin. ADA did a little breakout of its own, and that breakout broke through two different levels. First of all, we had this smaller time frame falling wedge pattern we have broken out of. This would give us a prediction. I made a video yesterday, so after the live is over, if you have not seen that, we addressed a prediction made by Cardano community, and I think we talked about it on the show yesterday, where they predicted that 49 cent in a month. I kind of reacted to that one. I talked about what the possibilities and realities of that could be, but realistically, what you're looking at is, I think it's very plausible we end up making it all the way up to about 38 cents. Let's move this over to the breakout point. That gets us right there. 38 cents is the prediction that we could break out from that falling wedge pattern. But let's say a lot more bullish narrative comes into the space for a longer time frame falling wedge pattern on here on Cardano. You're going to see here dictated by the green line and the red line right here. Longer time frame, this would give us a much higher prediction, which would get us actually above that 49 cent prediction by the Cardano community, and that would be, let's just imagine, let's say it breaks out somewhere over, let's just call it here. Let's say, for example, we end up breaking out down here towards, this would be mid to late January. So this is probably put that prediction at the end, but it could give us a price action maybe as high as 56 cents here on Cardano. Again, a little bit aggressive for my taste right now. It's doable. It absolutely has happened before, but this would be over an 100% increase, which the only reason that could happen is if the volume starts to pop back up, but also you got to remember, we've been oversold on Cardano now for a very long time, and that is the traders and investors' favorite thing to look for, is coins and projects and companies and stocks that have been oversold for a long time. That's blood in the streets. They love picking that up. So there's a lot of Cardano haters out there. I even had, we got comments on the video yesterday. People were like, "Can you guys just stop talking about Cardano all the time?" Unfortunately, no. I love Cardano. I love its future. I love what they're trying to develop as a team. I know a lot of you guys do as well, so we'll continue to talk Cardano. But if you don't like Cardano, just don't invest in it. Just don't buy it. Don't trade it. Don't do anything with it. Ignore it. And now we're going to move on from Cardano and save some of your guys' ears from that. Let's move on to the one that I want to talk about here. We got about 7 minutes left before we're moving into stocks, and that is Litecoin. Now, we don't talk a lot about Litecoin, so we're going to spend a little bit of time here. And the other thing that we don't do, and I look at them sometimes personally, but until I see something really, really massive to talk about, I don't bring them up on shows, and that is moving averages. So let's pull up the SMAs and let's go out to the daily chart. And there's something really interesting happening here on Litecoin that I don't know if everyone has picked up on just yet. So you guys will notice here, let's look through here. I think the red line, let me make sure I get this right. Orange line is our 20, the red line is the 50, green line is the 100, and then our blue line is our 200 moving average here. What do you guys notice right here about Litecoin? It is above all four of them on the daily chart. That's bullish. You know, if you're looking at this in the past and you're looking at previous times, every time we get completely below them, we're definitely moving into a downward nature. You understand? Right here, we got completely below them. Right here, okay, we got below them right here in October of 21. We routed a little bit higher. But when you get below all of them or above all of them, there's a good sign of things to come in that direction. So when I see us being above all four moving averages, that to me is a good sign. But here's another thing about Litecoin that makes this a little bit different. I tested this morning. I'm going to go through some of the top coins. I'm not going to show you guys every single altcoin out there. Maybe there's another altcoin out there that I don't know about that is doing the exact same thing. But Every other project right now is at worst below all 4 of them, and at best only above a couple of them. There's one project that's close to being back where Litecoin is, but look here, Bitcoin below all 4. Ethereum is just above the 20, but is below the other 3. Cardano, we're still below. XRP, we're still below. Let me speed this up a little bit. Litecoin, of course, I showed you guys was above. Dot's below. Link's below. There's one project right here, and I'm going to save some time just guys. These other ones, Solana, AVAX, Doge, Algo, VeChain, Matic, they are all below their moving averages. Atom is the only project here on the daily chart that is above 3 of them and is heading back towards its 50. The problem is it's going to meet that 50 with a key level of resistance. We'll talk about more of that in a different stream. My point for this one is Litecoin right now, not only is it up 80% since its dip back here in May, I see this June, sorry, earlier I was looking at the big dip. Not only is it up over 80% since that big dip, it is one of the few leading the bull market right now as we're starting to the early stages of it. Whether we're going to hover at the bottom for a little while longer, I'm going to go ahead and talk about the bull market's coming back. I think we're going to see a lot of projects continue to start rise right now. This is the time to start diversifying again. We talked about it in the past. When you're in a bear market, you start to you start to group into small things. Maybe just Bitcoin and Ethereum. Maybe Bitcoin, Ethereum, and one other project you really like. Maybe it's just Bitcoin. Now, as we're at the bottom, at least close to it, it's time to start diversifying. And we're going to talk about other people's opinions later, but Litecoin is looking like it could be one of the bigger movers in this next bull market. And right now, it is starting off with a bang. Again, being up over 80% and being above all these moving averages, it is taking a lead that no other coin is taking. Let's look at a couple other things, though, on Litecoin. Let's look at some oscillators and look at some other things. Here on the daily chart, it's a little higher than what we were looking at on Bitcoin and Ethereum, but still on the daily chart, we are not overextended to the upside. So this momentum can absolutely continue to that upside. I do think 4-hourly chart is showing us that it might be time to start rejecting. And remember how I told you guys to watch for when you get over that 70 on the RSI, start watching for the peaks and the price actions to go in opposite directions. Well, sure enough, here on the 4-hourly chart, that's exactly what we have. We have our bearish RSI divergence that I was telling you guys to look out for over on Bitcoin and Ethereum. But I mean, the peaks right here on the price action, we're climbing. The RSI, they declined. That's bearish RSI divergence. But just because we need to go down on the 4-hourly chart does not mean in the grand scheme of things over the next couple of weeks and months, we're not going to continue to the upside on Litecoin. So while smaller time frames are potentially telling us, hey, it's time to take some profit, it's time to regroup, the longer time frame ones still have moves to the upside for Litecoin. And for those reasons, you know, this is one of the projects I didn't have it on my list a little bit ago. I have a list of projects I want to start DCAing into and getting in my bag. Litecoin, I think, is going to be one of them. And we'll talk more about that again in the part where we go through the news. But right now, what I'm seeing on the charts for Litecoin, it could potentially be one of the leading projects in this next bull market. Again, ones that we're comparing it to in the charts. Atom, for example, is another one that is just on a little bit of a tear here recently, up here over 20% within the last couple of weeks. Again, heading towards a resistance level, heading towards that 50 daily SMA. So there's going to be a take profit opportunity on Atom here very soon. But these are projects that are showing a lot of development, a lot of money, a lot of funding coming into it. Litecoin, you know, this last thing I'll say and we'll move on. Litecoin has had its moments, and I'm guilty of being part of it. There was questions. Is Litecoin going to die? Is Litecoin fading out? Is Litecoin taking a back seat? It has continued to hover in the top 20, sitting currently at number 12. I think we're getting back up into the top 10. I think others believe it's going to go even higher. Litecoin could be very, very exciting, especially when you add in the detail of the SEC becoming very aggressive towards altcoins and potentially trying to label as many of them as possible as securities. Well, Litecoin, similar to Bitcoin, could be one of the ones that completely avoids the wrath of the SEC. For those reasons, Litecoin is a very interesting looking coin and investment opportunity right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was really, really well done. Tim, I've got a question for you. If somebody wanted to use that Lux Algo indicator, is there somewhere they could find that?
Yes, in the link down below. So if you guys go, let's see, I don't even have it here. You guys can get to see a behind the scenes.
I actually have it pulled up.
You already have it pulled up?
Right here. Yeah, you can take a look right here in our description. This is the description of, look, there I am. What a handsome looking guy.
What a guy.
Lux Algo, right there. You sign up for it. You support the channel. Seriously, you support the channel in our early days. It's really, really helpful. If you were ever thinking about getting into trading, I absolutely recommend, Tim does too, look at him over there, recommending Lux Algo. to use for trading or just tracking the market. And you support the channel whenever you do that. There's also some other links down there too you might want to check out as well.
Here's the thing. Lux Algo is super special. And you want to know what else is super special, T-Shroom?
Dolly Parton.
Dolly Parton is super special as well. Do you want to know what else is special, T-Shroom?
Yes.
I didn't know if you had like another one you were going to throw in there. Matt C is in chat before 9:30.
Wow. That's incredible.
I'm loving it. That, again, we knew that Matt loved us. That is just super loving. He got up before, he woke up before his alarm at 6:30 in California time.
Dang. And
he said, you know what? I'm going to tune in for the Investing Bros because that is must-watch TV. I know we're not on TV, we're on YouTube, but I'm just assuming that's what Matt was saying in his brain.
Yeah.
Must-watch TV.
Must-watch TV.
Investing Bros.
That's awesome. Well, so much love to Matt C. He's a really, really funny guy. Air Force, right? Former Air Force?
Is he? I don't think so.
I think, well, he sure knows a thing or two about airplanes.
I mean, you don't have to be in the Air Force to know a thing or two about airplanes, though, T-Shirt.
Well,
I have a brother-in-law who's a pilot who's never been in the Air Force. He knows a thing or two about airplanes.
Well, I'm sure Matt C will very graciously inform me whether or not he is in the Air Force or was in the Air Force. But the other thing that, Tim, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Could people like this video right now and potentially subscribe to our channel? Is that possible through the YouTube system?
There's an algorithm that YouTube built here a while ago. They created a digital 4-fingered mitten, and they put it right below the video on every single thing that you create. And originally, it starts off with just a white outlining.
Right.
But the cool thing about it is if you click on it, it turns completely white. A little racist. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. There's maybe some implicit bias going on there over at YouTube.
But it does help the channel out a lot. And currently, we have it's updating. 91 people watching.
Wow.
Only 56 of those are likes. So we need more mittens.
I am seeing somebody in the chat who's very important to me, and that is my father. And he said, Steve Shrum said, "Greetings, guys," which is exactly what you'd want to hear. Greetings back to you, Dad. Hope that you're having a good morning and that you haven't gotten pink eye from Mom. My mom has pink eye right now for some reason.
Oof.
So that's not good. But either way, we're having a really good morning over here. And
we are. It is a good morning.
I'm seeing a lot of smiling, friendly faces that I recognize in the chat, which is just awesome.
By the way, Matt updated his dad was in the Navy, so he was not in the Air Force. So, but maybe, was his dad, Matt, was your dad a Navy pilot?
Well, he knows a lot about airplanes, which is really good. And also, V Slim said, Lux Algo has been pretty cool. I won a free year membership on Frankie Candle's channel. So
cool.
So V Slim has been rocking out on Lux Algo for a while now, and he's liking it. So it may be something you'd be interested in checking out too. If you're looking into trading, if you've been in trading, looking to get a little bit more of an edge. I couldn't recommend it enough. I love it. I was without it for a little while last year for just a couple of different reasons. But when I got it back, man, I just felt like myself again. So
it's true.
It's good stuff. Well, you ready to get into the stories here, Tim?
Well, are we doing stories or are we doing stock market?
Well, the market is now open. Okay.
The market is open.
So the market's open. Let's go ahead and check that out. But before we do, definitely like this video and share it too. Look, there's a button there you can share. And so that is a lot of fun. Let's dive into the market here, guys, because I want to briefly begin with this thesis that I had this morning as I was listening to Tim so eloquently deliver the TA of the cryptos this morning. Today's market open is going to be very important, and I'll just go ahead and go over to it right now. The index open is really important that it's green. So it is green. So as you saw ETH break through that support, that resistance, and that was really big. But that kind of shows to me that crypto is bullish. It's ready to run. There's a lot of money on the sidelines. It's ready to buy at these levels. It makes sense. Doesn't mean crypto can't go lower. It probably will. It needs a shoe to fall. It needs an event. FTX is about to go to trial. There's your event. But overall, I think that the crypto market is bullish, but there's these countervailing macro winds that we're about to explore that have all been saying, well, the stock market, the equities, commodities, all these things are going to sell off in Q1. It's going to be very volatile. So watching day by day, so far, so good. So let's dive into it, what the indexes are doing, who's leading. So it's pretty neck and neck here, but the SPY is leading, meaning there's really nothing to conclude in terms of risk rotation, but you can say, SPY leading here, 0.2 up 0.2%, NASDAQ up 0.2 basically, and the NASDAQ up basically 0.2 as well. So, essentially you've got green across the board. That's what you want to see in the early minutes of trading. Let's go ahead and take a look here at just a SPY chart. This is the SPX, and as you can see, we're opening higher. We've been in this little, it's a 1 hour chart. Maybe let's not go to the 1 hour chart. So as you can see, we are in the middle of this channel here that I do not have drawn. Let's go ahead and draw that out really quickly. But we've been trading in the middle of this channel, and we haven't really left it. We've just been kind of going back and forth and back and forth. And, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is yet to be determined. So you can kind of see here, it's been trading right in the middle of this channel. And when the Fed issued that its last hiking, that brought it down quite a bit, even though it was 50 basis points, that brought it down to here where we've traded sideways. Now, as we'll see down lower, Apple is supposed to be selling off today, and it's not. So it actually got bought on that news. There was some news on that, but let's go ahead and keep moving here. Let's go up to energy. We skipped over that. So natural gas coming in higher today. And we'll take a look at that chart in a second, but oil selling off sharply. Wow, look at this. So I did not know. Oh, wow, dang. So it has broken through that support at 67, and it is looking to go lower, man. So it's tough to say. I mean, you definitely want to, let's see what LuxAlgo is saying about this. You definitely want to watch these. Yeah. So it's not a buy. Don't get deceived by that. It's still definitely a strong sell on the daily.
You had the normal sitting on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It flashed late, and then you got the sell order.
Yeah. So buy was 3 days ago or whatever. But the strong sell order here would have helped you prevent any kind of serious losses.
People need to remember about LuxAlgo in case anyone gets confused on this. It is not a tool that you're supposed to just buy on the buy signals, sell on the sell signals. For example, in a bearish trend, the ones you want to pay attention to are the sell signals, not the buy signals. So that's a good example. Some people get frustrated at that buys that you pull back up, T-Trim. People get frustrated at that when they're like, oh, I thought that was me I'm supposed to buy. No, we're in a little bit of a bear trend here on the oil. It's heading down. That's not a good signal.
Yeah. So I switched over to the 4 hour here for oil, and as you can see, it is actually getting into the reversal cloud there, but on the 4 hour. So on the daily, probably not anywhere near that reversal. Yeah. So this is a wait, definitely a patient play, because this oil could have quite a bit room to run down further. Let's see what RSI is saying about that. Kind of, not super determinate on that. RSI isn't saying strongly one way or another. So we'll keep moving, but the green histograms are decelerating. So that would be bearish. Obviously, that's reflected in the price movement. Moving over to natural gas just briefly, you are seeing what could be a turnaround here in natural gas, as it has found a temporary bottom, at least for the early morning trading minutes here of the New York Stock Exchange. And just so you know, I'm not looking at the spot price here of natural gas, so don't be alarmed. Natural gas has not shot up to $13 per barrel or per unit. I'm not even sure how it's broken down metric-wise, but it has bottomed, at least for now. But as you can see here on the 4 hour, you got the reversal chart still with a ways to go down, but on the daily. And it's peculiar. It has already touched into that reversal channel there, reversal cloud, for LuxAlgo. So showing some signs of potential reversal there in natural gas. This is the ETF of it. This is not the spot price again, but LuxAlgo definitely thinks that it could come back down here to these take profit points, and it has not yet gone into that second reversal cloud. So that's energy. We'll keep moving. Let's go check out crypto. As we broke down this morning, bullish, very bullish.
Very bullish.
Ethereum leading the big three. Actually,
and that right there, pause right there. I'm loving that.
Yeah.
The Cardano finally is outpacing the way it should. The Cardano being up 5.3% now, just went to 5.26 as I say that.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm jinxing it. But Ethereum only being at 3.2 and Bitcoin being below 1. That's what we should be expecting. All these other times where we're seeing Cardano be outpaced by the other two was a little bit disappointing. But it is good to see the percentage go back up. Doesn't mean the volume's higher. Doesn't mean there's more money coming in. It just means because of how much lower it is in those two, it's finally getting the bigger swings.
Yeah.
So that's very, very good for Cardano. It's needed it bad.
I learned a new trick over the weekend. I'm going to try it. Let's see if this works. It works. I have never been down in the lower thirds panel there. So now you guys get to see my awesome expressions as I navigate the charts here. So so you'll see. Yeah. So across the board green, and Tim so eloquently broke that down for us just then. Gold, silver, still pushing higher. This is silver spot. This is gold spot. These are ETFs, and this is steel up top. Steel getting a nice little 1.5% correction this morning. But let's check in on gold. And I've still got those Fibonacci's drawn, so it kind of looks like a circus show here. I'll at least turn look, so I'll go off. Although you'll notice gold still on a buy signal. This is the daily, guys. Still on a buy signal on gold, and the trend tracer has not. It is still green. Now, and it also is a good distance away here from the reversal cloud, still 2.3% away, and that cloud will move depending on momentum metrics. So it's not like it has to go up and it's gonna sell there. Are you a buyer of gold here at these levels, Tim? Are you thinking potentially this is a decent place to get an entry in gold?
Trying to look at what your chart is saying here. I'm gonna have to go ahead and look at mine to get a good grasp on it. Didn't look at gold this morning when I woke up. So no, and the reason why is because I'm not saying long term not to get in, but this would not be my spot to get in.
Gotcha.
Go to my. You're on my screen. There you go.
Yep.
Look at how ahead of the curve you are. We're developing that bearish RSI divergence here on gold. There's a chance we end up breaking through it here, but we're overextended here on the daily chart. We're getting that red overbought cloud coming out on the Luxago oscillator, and you guys can see the peaks of the RSIs are coming down after hitting that 70. You know, the only time we went above 70 here on the daily chart, we had that little peak right there. It technically went a little bit over right there. And then, yeah. So when we go over on 70, that's a good sign of peaks to come. I don't think that is necessarily the best buying opportunity now. I would be curious to see how far we dip. I would be interested in a buying spot, probably sitting closer to about 1806, back to the peak that we had here on August of 2022. Let me look at one more thing. I want to look at action concepts here on the daily chart. Yeah, maybe even a little lower than that. Maybe potentially, as you guys can see, we're hitting into a zone right now. That's another reason to think we're going to inject. Maybe coming down here, even down to 1784 would be another zone potentially to keep an eye on there. I don't know what that's doing, though. It's giving me really weird numbers. I think it doesn't like that chart. But, yeah, I'm going to keep my eyes on that one. But just to answer your question, no, today is not a buy gold day for me.
Gotcha. No worries. We'll keep on trucking here. There's a overall narrative with gold and silver that it is the recession-proof precious metals asset to definitely check out before a recession hits. And, you know, it's debatable whether or not we're actually in a recession as we plunge forward into Q1. But definitely something to consider there, those precious metals. I think I would overall, though, agree with Tim's assessment is you want to wait until you get to the right levels. Unless you're investing for like the long haul or you have an overall thesis about the recession and things like that. If you're a trader, especially a day or swing, you definitely want to make sure you're getting in at the right levels because that's where you make your money.
And there's no one is ever going to pinpoint the perfect bottom or perfect top. No one is going to get every single great entry or exit. Here's one way, though, you can avoid making too many mistakes. When you see something overextended to the upside, even if it continues to rally, maybe gold does continue to go on a tear, it jumps up, a couple more $100. Learn the lesson of saying, no, when I was looking at the charts, it was overextended. Even if a fluke thing sends it up a little higher, I'm going to learn to make wise investments. I'm going to invest when things are overextended to the downside. And maybe it keeps going down to the downside, but at least I invested when it was low. And if you continue to invest when it's low and sell when it's high, you will make money in the long term. You'll have a couple losses, but you'll have way more wins than losses.
Absolutely. We've checked out metals. Let's go ahead and take a look over here at the oil producers, all coming in red today. And so that is indicative of a cycling out of value into risk. So folks are finding some risk. As you can see right up here, small caps. Other than Snowflake, which there's probably some fundamentals on that. Other than Snowflake, some mid caps getting some love this morning in the early morning minutes here of the trading session. Cannabis stocks, very high risk, getting love, up 3.3% on average there. Bonds down, money coming out of fixed returns. Also DXY down. We won't go on that because we got a lot to cover elsewhere. Amazon and Microsoft. Ooh, Microsoft taking a real haircut here. This is actually a name that I'm quite exposed to, but I'm going to have to take a look at that today. Overall, though, the narrative here is risk on for some reason, at least for the first couple days. I don't know how indicative of that is going to be of the rest of Q1, but that's what that is. All right, well, let's go ahead and check out the stories here. We're going to start with the Logan Paul headline. We're not going to read too much into this, but there he is, folks. Logan Paul.
Babyface Logan Paul.
The guy that everybody knows and everybody and a lot of people hate. Logan Paul reacts to CoffeeZilla's scam accusations threatening legal action, and he's telling CoffeeZilla, hire a good lawyer because you're gonna need it. So some strong words there for CoffeeZilla, as he's recently released a 3-part series covering Logan Paul's CryptoZoo project. It's an NFT project and its alleged downfall. It's interesting how you could allege a downfall, usually be able to just see it. But Paul responded in a 7-minute YouTube video refuting CoffeeZilla's accusation and threatening legal action. Well, there's a lot to say about that one. And today, probably, guys, we're going to go ahead and make a totally separate video for this one just because of how interested people are going to be. Yeah. But let's keep on trucking because there's a lot to cover today, and we've only got so much time. White House claims meeting between SBF and senior Biden officials were about the pandemic. We weren't talking about nothing but the pandemic, guys. We're just talking generally about crypto and how awesome it is, and then all of a sudden there's tons of fraud.
And to be fair, the sources of this would be the government and SBF.
Right.
The two most trustworthy sources that you can get information from. So this is super legit.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, as you can see here in this article, it shows that SBF had and representatives of FTX had visited the White House 4 times in 2022, including a recently disclosed September 9th visit. So really no fireworks here in this article, but definitely kind of showing, and it does conclude with a reminder, hey, there is definitely a lot of money donated to Democrats in 2022 from SBF. Donated some $46.5 million to political causes, including $5 million to Political Action Committee PAC that fueled national pro-Biden blitz. So that's that. But White House insisting nothing to see here. Big nothing burger. Move on. Do we buy it? Maybe not. Not really having enough power to do much about it, just as a normal citizen of America. But Solana surges 16%. We didn't really look into this because Solana has been really tanking recently, but it surged 16% as the writing of this article. Obviously, that's changed since then. But as a Doge-themed SHIB rival Bonk takes off. So there's a new coin on Solana, and it's taking off. But here's what I have to say about it, and here's what this article has to say about it, and I thought that this was pretty important. Much of the chatter and hype in the Solana ecosystem over the last days have focused on the rise of Bonk, a Solana-based token with the same kind of Doge meme theme as Dogecoin and Ethereum-based Shiba Inu. Bonk launched in late December with a large-scale airdrop with free tokens sent to wallets of a wide array of Solana developers and NFT collectors. The obvious question here, guys, is will this save Solana? And my hot take is that it will. This is the kind of thing that unfortunately still works in crypto. Now, here's the thing that to watch, though. If this doesn't work, then that's a clear indication that you're starting to see some maturity in retail. You're starting to see some folks look at these dog coins and be like, maybe I'll move on. Now, I will disclaim that with I have been understanding Doge and Doge. I've been understanding Doge more and more. The tokenomics behind it definitely have a lot of value. So I'm more and more putting kind of Doge to the side. But when I say dog coins, I think you know what I mean. That over exuberance towards a coin that doesn't necessarily have a ton of underlying value other than its meme velocity. Tim, did you have anything to say about this Bonk coin other than you had never heard of it before?
I never heard of this before.
Okay.
And this is...
You think it's the next big thing?
We don't need more meme coins, especially at the bottom. Like, meme coins is what you play with during a bull market, not at the bottom of a bear market, beginning of a bull market. Here's the thing. I really am trying. I'm trying my hardest, everybody, to be as impartial as possible when it comes to Solana. I'm trying absolutely my hardest. This, to me... Have you ever seen Elf when they're scrambling because they just lost the book or whatever, and the 2 other writers are giving terrible suggestions to write a new book? It seems to me like that might be a picture of what's happening on the Solana team. It's like, we're really struggling, guys. What do we do? Let's create a meme stock.
Yeah. No, they're desperate.
And then they're running with it.
But this thing is going to make its rounds, and this is why my instinct is that it's going to work. It is going to save Solana for this bear market. Even though all the cards should be stacked against Solana, it has survived so far. It got that tweet from Vitalik kind of throwing it a bone. Solana.
I see what you
Solana,
did there with the new dog coin.
But you're right. And they're obviously desperate here. They're obviously scrambling. But unfortunately, if people didn't sell Solana when there were outages, I don't think they're going to sell now just because they're down. I think if anything, this is going to work. That's my hunch. And that doesn't mean I'm going to be buying it. I don't recommend you get into Solana because it's for the long haul. I don't think it's going to add value, but who knows how crypto shakes out in the long run. We just don't know. So let's move on though. We've given this all the attention that it deserves. Than it
really should have had.
And let me work my magic here to get me back on. There we go. So U.S. regulators warn banks that crypto is not safe and sound. This is we're going to spend a decent amount of time here, guys. This and another regulatory headlines here. So Federal Reserve and the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, there's a breakdown of the FDIC acronym you've heard so much, and the Office of Comptroller for the Currency, OCC, said banks should be aware of the significant volatility and vulnerabilities over the past year the crypto industry experienced this year. And so this is pretty important, guys. So the joint declaration comes as U.S. politicians press regulators for more transparency from the digital asset industry following the November collapse of the mega exchange, FTX. Democratic Senators Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts and Tina Smith of Minnesota last month asked Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, so they hopped on the phone and gave their old buddy Jerome a call for information on America's banks' ties to the crypto following the collapse of the crypto exchange FTX. To be honest, not a bad idea. I think regulators should be in the know of how exposed banks are to volatile and risky assets. Whether or not I want Elizabeth Warren making that call is something totally different. But it's not just in the U.S. that you're seeing a press for regulation. It's also in Israel. So let's take a look. Oh, wait. This is in Hebrew. Okay, sorry. We won't look at the actual bill that they're trying to pass over there because it's not in English. But Israeli, do you think that was funny, Tim? Or do you think that was a waste of time to make that joke?
The joke we're currently making or the joke about...
Let's move on. Israeli security regulators moves to establish crypto legal framework. So they are making moves over there in Israel when it comes to crypto legislation. Let's read about it. An amendment to the definition of the term security to include digital assets used for financial investment was also included in the proposal. So that's one of the first big changes that they're making over there. And why is this important, guys? Because this is precedent setting. Israel is not the most important country in the world, but they have innovated quite a bit in crypto, and they are definitely seen as a tech hub. Tel Aviv is one of the cities that's slated to be the new Silicon Valley next to Miami. Miami is a very innovative city, and so is Tel Aviv. So it's important to see what Tel Aviv obviously is in Israel, and so it's important to see kind of what these countries are thinking in terms of how they regulate this new burgeoning industry of crypto. It was further added that the definition of digital assets as a digital representation of value or rights used for financial investment. So further defining their digital assets, including setting requirements for issuers and intermediaries and imposing sanctions for non-compliance. So again, giving a little bit of meat to the bones of the regulation they're looking to implement. They also want language that establishes a requirement for issuers of digital assets to publish a prospectus-like document before the issuance of registration of the assets for trading. They're looking into getting digital assets industry to comply with rules similar to, and this is a big one here, guys, rules similar to those applied to intermediaries in the traditional securities industry, such as the requirements to hold a license and meet capital adequacy standards. So that's kind of the big one there, because you have to imagine a world where Binance has to conform, where a Coinbase, probably would already classify as conforming and being compliant with these type of rules. But could Binance do that? Could the biggest one out there, and could some of the other big ones do that as well? That's definitely yet to be seen. So that's a big shoe to drop still in crypto as these countries move forward with regulation. And their regulation, they're trying to make it congruent or pretty similar to the existing traditional securities industry standards and rules. Moving on, the regulator aims to facilitate the development of the digital asset industry in Israel by allowing for an establishment of digital assets exchange digital asset exchanges and enabling the use of digital assets as collateral. So they want it. They want crypto. They want exchanges. That's a good thing. And that may be the end. Yeah. So overall here, guys, obviously the summation of this is that, it's important to track what countries are going ahead and introducing.
Good.
Excuse me. Yeah. I'm allergic to regulation. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I mean, this is it's all kind of in the name here, guys. Regulation moving forward. Israel, a pretty prominent, respected country. They're passing it here. Europe passed MiCA. There was a lot of similar moves that they took that Israel is kind of taking here as well. But what was MiCA not informed by? It was not informed by the FTX collapse. MiCA, again, being that big kind of comprehensive legislation that was passed over there in the EU. Well, there's a lot more information to go through, so let's get into it. Over in the trad markets, the traditional finance markets, and that would be this headline here from CNBC that mortgage demand plunges 13.2% to end 2022 as interest rates head higher again. So it's not just crypto that's affected by interest rates, obviously, but mortgage application volume was down 13.2% at the end of last week from 2 weeks earlier. The average contract interest rate for 30-year fixed increased to 6.58 from 6.34 2 weeks prior. At the end of 2021, the rate was 3.33. So the environment definitely not being extremely conducive to buying of new homes. So you could potentially be seeing a slowdown. Not potentially, I think it's kind of baked in. Investors are baking in at this point the concept of a slowdown over there in the real estate market. And these latest statistics are definitely nudging towards that. But has it changed the CME future predicting tool? Yes, I'd say it has. It has moved that up to 11% now, that we'd see a 50 versus a 25 basis point hike there in February 1st. Well, let's go.
No, that's a zero.
That's the zero?
11% would be 11% that we'd have no rise whatsoever. That's
zero. Oh, good catch, Tim.
Yeah, we're currently sitting between 425 and 450. 88% chance of a 25 basis point hike.
Why would it be rising then? That's interesting. Why would the zero be rising?
Because I think some people are potentially expect that. Again, I don't think it's going to happen. We got 4 weeks, so it could change. But I think some people are potentially thinking towards, they might be leaning towards a pause rather than an increase. And if they do increase, it's just going to be 25 at this point.
Gotcha.
So,
well, it's all very, very fascinating. But let's get to our cover story here. Abra CEO explains why Litecoin is so important. So this is what he had to say. This is the CEO of Abra. Litecoin is the only decentralized P2P payment system with 10 years of uninterrupted uptime. Bitcoin will get there in 2023. He said, I use Bitcoin to store wealth and prefer Litecoin to do P2P via crypto when possible. Mm-hmm. Litecoin is important for a few reasons, in my opinion. They test new technologies and system settings faster than Bitcoin. Wimble, block timing, different hashing algo, etc. This helps Bitcoin, in my opinion. In any case, it's still just software. Use it or don't. So the CEO coming out and making some pretty practical comments there about Litecoin as it relates to Bitcoin. In 2022, the Litecoin network completed over 39 million transactions and 52 million new addresses were added to the network, which is the second most of any crypto. And then there were some tweets that are mentioned here. This from Crypto Correo said Litecoin is currently the only mid-large cap asset above its 200-day moving average. And I believe Tim mentioned that.
Again, it's the only one. Yeah, okay. So the only other one that's close is Atom.
Wow.
Everything else is below all of them almost.
Yeah. So definitely important observation there coming from Crypto Correo. And then Galaxy Trading has an interesting take here as well. As the Litecoin halving approaches, we expect quite a bit of hype around it. The chart looking juicy, which gives us a relatively safe play with an aim of about 100% profit. So definitely a lot to look forward to there with Litecoin. But Tim, let's go ahead and open up the conversation now. So we've looked at the TA, we've looked at some fundamentals and some takes from some tweet accounts here from Galaxy Trading and from Crypto Correo. You know, at what point, how much more do you need to hear before you're a buyer of Litecoin?
Well, no, I mean, again, it's one of the ones I'm looking at. Even just the charts alone are suggesting that this is a project that needs to. It's definitely not dying. Some people thought Litecoin was dying again. Things I've heard earlier, but it could be rallying back up. It's very close to top 10 currently, and could go even a little higher. And if you continue on, some of the things this CEO said, he's also a big believer that cash is just a depreciating asset that you just want to get out of altogether. So it kind of explains his rationale. He does not like cash. He says, you know, the obvious, due to inflation and everything else going on, cash is just becoming more worthless every single day. So he's looking for, how can I spend money on a regular basis without having to use cash? And so that's it. It's not just him. I think there's other people doing the exact same thing. I think we're going to see all around the world people. It's not just the US dollar that's losing money. Every fiat is dying like crazy. Like right now, especially the Chinese yuan and
the yen, the Japanese yen.
The Japanese yen. The Japanese yen, like those are getting depleted. People are going to look for a different way to spend money. And potentially what he's going on here has a very good point. I know that Bitcoin has the Lightning Network, which should work, but with Litecoin, it's funny that it's Lightning Network and then you have Litecoin. Yeah. Litecoin, because it's so much faster, like he's saying, it's better for peer-to-peer exchanges. Like potentially, maybe Bitcoin does become like gold, an amazing store of value and a great place to hold and to build wealth in. But what we end up using day to day is more like Litecoin. Again, we've said this before. The future of currency is crypto. Whether that is Bitcoin or something else, we didn't know. Litecoin has been around for a very long time. It is tried, it is true, it is tested, it is here, and it looks like it is here to stay. Could Litecoin in this next bull market make a splash and make an argument that it should be the currency of the future to be exchanged, and then other currencies, other cryptocurrencies are used more as store of values? We've talked about Bitcoin could become, if things are developed and the Lightning Network continues to develop, that Bitcoin could be used as a currency, but a lot of people have made the argument just because of its transaction speed and because of it, you know, everything with mining, it might be better suited just to stay as the major store of value. And maybe it's when we're looking at Litecoin or any other currency, we're constantly comparing it. Whether we back our currency with Bitcoin or not, we're constantly looking at it and saying, what is it worth today compared to Bitcoin? Because we see Bitcoin as the real store of value. We just don't use it for every single transaction. Litecoin could be making a very, very, very engaging argument that it should be a currency. And again, my other thing, I said this earlier, but if anyone missed it, the fact that Litecoin will evade the SEC, unlike other cryptocurrencies, is another huge win for Litecoin just to be able to invest in. Again, I don't know if I'm in the boat yet. I'm going to start buying Litecoin for the purpose of spending it the way this guy is. But I'm definitely looking at it as a good investment to add to my portfolio.
Yeah, well, a couple of details to add is that Litecoin is proof of work. So it has not made that switch over to proof of stake like Ethereum did with the merge and like how Cardano started out as proof of stake. So that is one thing to consider. You can still mine it. You can still mine Litecoin. And if you can mine it, then that means there's a halving, which is what I've got pulled up here on my screen. And it is a from litecoinhalving.com. So this could be fake, but I have a feeling it's not. That would be a pretty expensive domain to buy and just spoof everybody. So essentially it's Thursday, August 3rd of this year. And this is definitely an approximation. I doubt that they can say that that's an exact date, but this is a countdown, essentially, you know, more than likely tied to the blocks, just like Bitcoin is. But this is going to be when that halving takes place. So around that time, you know, as halving theory goes, you know, the price of Litecoin should only grow up until then, because what happens at a halving, maybe you're in crypto for the first time, you don't really understand or know what a halving is. A halving is when it becomes when you get half the rewards as you did before the halving. So when that threshold is broken, everybody mining Litecoin or any coin that is experiencing a halving, the rewards are cut in half. And so that is something that you can anticipate. Essentially, what that translates into is less supply. And when there's less supply, the price tends to go up. Yeah. And since markets look into the future and anticipate, and price anticipates the future events, then it absolutely is something that you can be bullish about, the halving. Now, it's not 100%, but that, having usually equals pretty bullish. So we'll leave it there. That's kind of our Litecoin analysis.
Yeah. Well, guys, we got to go ahead and wrap it up for today, but we are super excited to be back tomorrow. Again, if you're new here, thank you for joining us. We are live every single morning, 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure you come back and check us out tomorrow. Make sure you're subscribed, hit that like button. And anyone out there who missed the show, maybe they weren't notified, hit that notification bell so no matter what YouTube does, it makes sure that you're updated for every piece of content we're putting out. Look forward today, guys, at 2 o'clock. I'm going to be appearing on Sin City Crypto. Make sure you go check it out. Show some support. Show some love. I will see you, though, in that video. And the rest of you who don't end up watching that, I'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.